All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And good afternoon, one and all, and welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And we're coming to you on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed at classic1220.ca. My guest this hour is Kelly Brickel, and she is in Irvine, California. And Kelly is a psychic, she's a medium, and she does numerology. So Kelly, welcome back to the X Zone, and for those listeners who may not have been here with us the last time you were on, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you into the world of the paranormal.
Sure. Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be back. I got into psychic and mediumship and numerology when I was in my teens, and it was really during a time in my life where the normal hustle and bustle of being young was not quite the same. I was going through some health problems when I was a kid, and so I was isolated a lot. So I got into meditation and I got into philosophy because I was wondering, well, why is life going exactly like this? And I got into just really understanding my reality with what was not in front of me, but what was being inspired and what was subtle. And I became sensitive to feeling and emotion and other people's energies. And I started to understand that this was really a thing, even though I didn't quite believe it, because when you're isolated and you're kind of figuring things out a different way, you go, well, you know, I'm experiencing things, but is this really real? But I started to notice that there was just these uncanny kind of experiences where I would just know what someone was going to say, or I knew what they were going through with greater depth than just normal. And I would see on TV just psychics and mediums, like Sylvia Brown at the time was like my first exposure. And then later on it was John Edwards and Lisa Williams. And I was just like, that's kind of similar to what happens with me a little bit. And it opened my world up to further researching and understanding that psychics and mediums were a thing, because I didn't have prior exposure to that at all. I even questioned if it was real.
So what convinced you that you had the gift of being a psychic?
Well, at first it was definitely not myself. It was when I started being around other people. So I practiced a lot. I meditated a lot. I thought about it. I had experiences with people a lot, sure, but it wasn't until I actually went to a class where I was like, I'm going to practice with other people who somewhat think that this could be a thing too, and I'm going to sit down and read with them. So during like exercises and workshops, and I would notice that it wasn't even noticing. I would just give them what I'd got, and they'd be like, I know what you're talking about. I'm like, how's that possible? Like, sure, like, yeah, I believe that some of it's possible, but how is it possible that I just say things and then in my mind, you're saying, yes, that's my life, or yes, that's what my loved one did. And it baffled me. But that's when I started learning it was real, because I'm just like, you can't refute if there's multiple people understanding your reality. And my teacher at the time, who helped really get me out of my shell, was Lisa Williams. And when she would give readings, I could just see sometimes what she would see exactly. And she would go up to other people and be like, okay, I want you to practice, or I'm going to kind of like listen to you. And she could tap into their loved ones. So it's a shared reality. It's a shared reality where people who are sensitive can actually see the same spirit, or tap into the same emotion, or tap into the same situation. And that blew my mind, and that really appeased any doubt that I had, that not only was I doing it, but other people were doing it, and we could just jump in and do it at the same time if we really wanted to, and practice with that understanding and that focal point.
Now, being a psychic means that you deal with the people who are on this side of the veil, or this side of the realm of the living. And when you communicate with people on the other side, those who have departed, and get answers for your clients, this is what is being called a medium. Am I correct?
Yes. There's like a distinction of readings. Yes.
So where does numerology fit in, and what is the history behind numerology?
Sure. So numerology is a psychic modality. And it's how you read energy and vibration with just a tool. In a psychic reading, you're going to get whatever you're going to get. You could see a number for a second. You could see a color. You could see, a cup. And all of a sudden you have stimulation to go, I'm going to look here, and it's just going to give me my next flow with what I need to say and what I need to do. Suddenly I just can use this to my inspiration. And numerology is very much like that. There's a system in place. So there is actually a logical backbone to, you have to start to understand archetypes. You have to understand certain rules. But once you get comfortable within that, you really are guided by the numbers that come up at you, as well as following the rules. I'm getting a little heady, but what I want to say is numerology is the study of numbers and vibration. And it goes back pretty far. I don't have the exact date. I don't know if there even is an exact date, but it goes back to India. It goes back to the East. And with Vedic astrology and numerology, people used to arrange marriages, understand what careers were good for people. It was basically like a personality test and a human understanding. And this did trickle down into other cultures. So this was used within Rome with palmistry, as well as now with modern day psychology. You have Western numerology that is used in a similar fashion, but more so for people's own understanding, rather than where, do I end up where I have to, have this role in life, but what are my skills and talents, and how can I create my own life?
Exo Nation, my guest this hour is Kelly Brickel, and her website is KELLYBRICKEL.com, and she also has a website page at facebook.com/energetic sessions. So you're also an energetic healer, I understand.
Yes. I've done a lot of healing work within my life. Every year I'm kind of inspired to work a different way, more so than one or another. And for a couple years, I haven't been as inspired to do healing, but people come to me still for healing, and I'm super passionate about it. I love it, but that's not something I always do in the forefront of certain years of my life. But absolutely, yes.
When you're doing readings for a client, do you use all the modalities you have experience in?
I'll be open to it. I'll say, what, I'm not going to block what comes in, but when someone comes to see me, I try to focus on a particular service, because my brain likes to focus. my brain will go too many different directions. But yes, things creep in. And that's how a lot of intuitives really work. It's just like whatever naturally comes in. When I do healing, there's a lot of psychic information that comes up. So like I will scan the body and I'll talk about their life and I'll see where they hold energy. Like I'm very sensitive to people's bodies. So that's very natural for me. I don't get as much mediumship stuff when I do healing work, but I know other people who get just gobs and gobs of it when they start healing. So everyone's very different with how their channels come in. But yeah, they all go together.
So what different types of energy are there? And how do you perceive and read and use the energy that you use in healing?
Sure. So there's many. I mean, I can't even give you, a number. It's like infinite. There's classic descriptions, like there's clairvoyance, there's clairsentience, clairaudience, and that's when you are sensitive to information with sight, clairvoyance. When you are sensitive to beyond what's physically there, physically felt, with feeling, clairsentience, right? And then the clairaudience, when you hear, let's say, names or sounds or even sentences, and that's not being stimulated by something within the physical realm, by what somebody said or what's present. So there's many different types of energy that come at us and we go, oh, I have information. And people can choose to develop that within themselves. There's people who are really good at puzzles.
Yes.
And they see the end of the puzzle, right? Before they even have the logical information. They're just like, I think I need to go left. I think I need to go right. I think I need to try this. I think I need to troubleshoot that. Same with technology. And they're taken to a pathway. And whatever pathway you are taken to receive something of benefit to yourself and others, that's unlocking your information if there is no A, B, and C, D, E, F formulation with it.
Gotcha. We've got about 30 seconds before I have to go to my first break, Kelly. What was it like the first time you realized that you were talking or communicating with someone who had passed from this reality and were on the other side of the veil?
That was one of my first experiences was in class, when I could verify it with other people. And I was shocked. It was very visual for me at first. So the more and more that I go on within this work, I become visual, yes, but very feeling based as well.
All right, Kelly, please stand by. We've got to take our break. Exonation Kelly Brickel is our special guest. And Kelly and I will be back on the other side of this short break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca.
Hello, I am Brooke Maguire, and the following is a presentation of the Relmar McConnell Media Company in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. In this episode, we will look at Fugo, Japan's unconventional balloon warfare in World War II. During World War II, Japan devised a highly unconventional and secretive method of warfare known as Fugo, utilizing balloon-borne bombs to strike at the heart of North America. This article delves into the captivating story of Fugo, exploring its origins, construction, deployment, impact, and ultimate legacy. By unraveling the details of this lesser-known aspect of World War II, we aim to shed light on the audacious nature of Fugo and its place in the annals of military history. The genesis of Fugo. Fugo originated from Japan's desire to strike fear into the hearts of the American people and divert their attention from the war in the Pacific. We explore the early motivations and strategic thinking that led to the development of Fugo as a unique form of warfare. The Japanese military's belief in the potential psychological impact of attacks on the American mainland set the stage for the creation of the Fugo project. Design and construction. The design and construction of the Fugo balloons required meticulous planning and engineering expertise. We delve into the innovative techniques and materials employed by Japanese scientists and engineers to create lightweight, hydrogen-filled balloons capable of carrying incendiary and explosive payloads. From balloon structure to payload deployment mechanisms, we examine the intricate details that made Fugo a formidable weapon. Deployment and flight across the Pacific. The deployment of Fugo balloons involved a complex logistical operation. We explore how these balloons were released into the jet stream, which carried them across the vast Pacific Ocean toward North America. We delve into the challenges faced during their transoceanic flight, including the impact of weather patterns, altitude control, and navigation systems. Despite encountering various obstacles, many Fugo balloons managed to reach the shores of North America. Impact and consequences. The Fugo balloon's arrival on North American soil had a significant impact on the civilian population and the war effort. We analyze the consequences of Fugo attacks, including forest fires, property damage, and the psychological effects on the American people. We also delve into the response of the U.S. military and government, exploring countermeasures, censorship efforts, and public awareness campaigns aimed at minimizing panic and mitigating the Fugo threat. Countermeasures and the end of Fugo. The U.S. military responded to the Fugo threat with a range of countermeasures. We examine the efforts to track, intercept, and neutralize the balloon-borne bombs. From military operations to intelligence gathering and public safety measures, we explore the multifaceted approach adopted to counter Fugo. We also discuss the diminishing effectiveness of Fugo attacks as the war progressed and the factors that led to the eventual cessation of the project. Legacy and historical significance. The Fugo project's legacy lies in its audacity, innovation, and the lessons learned during World War II. We examine the historical significance of Fugo, both in terms of its impact on the war and its influence on subsequent military strategies. We discuss its role in shaping early warning systems, aerial defense tactics, and the study of unconventional warfare. Fugo serves as a testament to the resourcefulness and determination of the Japanese military during a turbulent period in history. Conclusion. The Fugo project represents a unique and audacious chapter of World War II history. Its utilization of balloon-borne bombs to target North America stands as a testament to the ingenuity and creativity of the Japanese military. While ultimately unsuccessful in achieving its intended objectives, Fugo leaves a lasting legacy as a remarkable example of unconventional warfare. By exploring the intricacies and impact of Fugo, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities and range of strategies employed during this global conflict.
Kelly Brickel is my special guest of this hour, Exonation, and if you'd like to contact Kelly for a one-on-one consultation, psychic reading, medium, or numerology, or any of the other wonderful things that Kelly does, visit her website at www.kellybrickel.com. Kelly, before we went to the break, we were talking about the first time that you realized that you had crossed the time-space continuum, and we're talking to or communicating with someone on the other side, and this happened to you when you were in a class. And what kind of class was it?
It was in Lisa Williams' class back in 2013. It was a psychic mediumship, like 5-day class. It was very extensive, and it was all day, and people from all around the United States gathered together, and we were developing our gifts, learning about our gifts. And so the first couple times I noticed, like I would get a lot of visual things, and I'd be kind of like, oh yeah, this is really indeed a thing. I knew it was, but wow, like on a deeper level. And I would say the biggest one that kind of stood out to me was it was towards the end of those 5 days, and we were practicing platform mediumship. And so that was rather than one-on-one, you practice with people. Everybody in class shows up, and they sit in a crowd, and you go up at the front of the class, and you tell the crowd, the group of people, who you're connecting with. And so at that time, I was getting visuals, but then I started getting like words and sounds. And I remember, and it's very technical in the brain, like you'll get emotional experiences, absolutely, and you'll get really cool things that you see, but really you're just keeping track of things as they come in. So I remember hearing a name, and I kept seeing like Gerard Butler's face, and like Jerry, and I was like, oh, like Gerard Butler, because apparently that's his nickname, and I knew that like information. And I was just like, oh, Gerard Butler, and they kept giving me that name, right? They kept giving me that name. So I was like, oh, is it a G name, Gerard, right? But I wasn't saying Jerry, but the connection was Jerry. I just was, we're in the infancy of trying to figure out what spirit is giving to us. So I remember that was in my brain, and I started to see this visual, and it was in this child's room, and it was this father putting his son down to sleep, and I could feel the blankets of the crib. I could see the room and the objects in it. I could see the hallway. I could feel the emotion from the father. It was like I was transported there. It was very visceral, and I was like, whoa. And the way that this little boy passed is he passed in his crib, and it's one of those things where, unfortunately, it's a horrible occurrence that happens. But the sudden infant death syndrome, they call it, just kids that just pass away in their crib. Yeah. And I was being shown this. I was being shown that the father came into the room to go check on his son, and his son wasn't breathing. And it was one of the students, it was their neighbor and friend, who they knew this about the father, because that was their friend. And they could confirm. I got the name wrong at the time, because I asked if it was a G, Gerard, but they told me that the little boy's name was Jerry. And his father was the one that went through that experience, and had to tell the rest of the family. And it like really, it's that's something you'll never forget, like the passing of a child, and that was the biggest one. That was the biggest one that really sat with me, and really took me to a different depth of emotion and sensation of how the other side comes and gives the messages. And there was a message in that. I honestly can't remember, but it was a message of love, and I'm still with my father. I'm still watching over, but that's what I remember the most.
Has there ever been a time, Kelly, when somebody has asked you to do a one-on-one with someone on the other side, and the spirit on the other side says, don't want to talk to them? No way.
Oh, it's usually the other way around. It's usually that the living won't want to talk to who's coming in because of not a great relationship. Sometimes there's abuse. Sometimes there's, I'm only here for an hour. Why would I want to talk to my uncle when I could talk to my father? Or I want to talk to my friend, not my cousin. So it's the living rejecting the connection, and usually it's because not so much of the person wants to come in for the sake of, oh, I want to talk to you, you need to talk to me. It's because the person's coming in to remind them of something that the person needs to grow and heal within. And so it's like a spontaneous moment. And if they listen to the message or they listen to a memory that's being brought up, actually a lot of things get dislodged, and there's a greater reason for it that, the medium doesn't know. They're just recounting what is coming through by spirit, and the sitter, the person who paid for the reading, they're not quite sure they're there either, but by the time the message is given, there's an understanding, absolutely, and there's a healing, absolutely. But no, spirit is very intelligent and very smart, far more than ourselves, and there's a reason why they come in. It's just, are we going to accept that? Do we want to listen?
So what's the difference between a spirit that you communicate with and, let's say, a ghost that is present in a home or at a battlefield or any other historical site?
Well, we get, there's a lot of different philosophies on that. I have my own, and then we get really technical when we go into that area. I believe that the soul's eternal. And I believe that, I'm a soul, you're a soul. So Rob McConnell, you're a soul. Kelly Brickel, I'm a soul. And we are having a temporary experience as these identities. So you are much bigger than Rob McConnell, and I am much bigger than Kelly Brickel, because we've had prior lifetimes and will continue to have lifetimes beyond this. So this is just a pie slice of who we are.
All right, Kelly, speaking about pie slices, we've got to take our break. Please stand by. And X Zone Nation, Kelly Brickel is my guest. And Kelly and I will be back on the other side of this very short break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming around the world on classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, if you'd like to have a special guest brought on the show, we'll do our very best. Send it to xzone@classic1220.ca. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Back through the years I go wandering once again, back to the seasons of my youth. I recall a box of rags that someone gave us, and how my mama put the rags to use. There were rags of many colors, but every piece was small, and I didn't have a coat, and it was away down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together, so in every
X Zone Nation, Kelly Brickel is our special guest. Her website is kellybrickel.com. And Kelly, before we went to the break, we were talking about the difference between a ghost and a spirit, and why some ghosts hang around. They hang around bars, they hang around restaurants, they hang around homes, they hang around mental institutions, they hang around wherever they feel comfortable, I guess. What is the difference between a ghost and a spirit?
Sure. So a ghost and spirit, people have many different understandings on this, but everything goes back to a soul, a spirit. So a ghost is a type of spirit. We are a type of, of spirit expressing itself. We're just an incarnation on earth, and we are present in this vibration, and people who are past are in a different vibration. They're in a different realm of existence, and so our energy and expression is different. What I was saying earlier is kind of how can I put it? My brain is swirling. So it's like we are so much more than this one life. We've had previous lives. We'll continue to have future lives. And I really believe, and there's other mediums that believe this too, that when you encounter a ghost, their soul is not bound to that location because their soul is eternal, their soul is autonomous. But a piece of who they was attached to that land. A piece of who they were had emotion and memories, and the identity of that slice of their soul, that of the bigger pie, goes back to the energy that was there. So you can experience people, you can experience events, energy residue, but you can also experience the active intelligence of the soul saying, yes, this was me, I was here, and I can say hi to you, I can interact with you, and I'm not an inanimate object. But the actual full soul of a person is not just there. And when we are interacting, a lot of us, even though, let's say, I can hear you, or if we were physically present, I could see you, even though we're living, all of us, and our soul is not here either. A lot of people believe a part of our soul is connected to the other side. However you define heaven or something that presupposes this reality. So there's parts of us being shared. There's parts of us being shared, and we are not just that part. I hope that makes sense.
So if that is the case, why do we keep on coming back? What's the sense in going through a lifetime, 70, 80, 90 years, in some cases 100 years, just to relieve yourself of the anchors to this reality, go to the spirit world, to come back and do it all over again?
Well, in our human, perception, we go, what's the point of it all? But really, we came here before we were even human, and we said, I want to experience the human condition. So something beyond our human understanding of suffering and happiness and family and friendship and the state of humanity through Earth said, hey, we need to do this for experiencing what we need to get done. So there's something greater than just this reality for the purpose of why we're doing it. A lot of people say, for spiritual development. So, there's a reason why we want to experience limitation. Please
don't take this wrong, Kelly, but how do we know that's true? How do we know that for a fact? How do we know it's just not something that was made up to try and make sense of a different reality, giving us more sense of life itself, that many people really can't grab the concept that we're here today, we're gone tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah. Definitely don't just listen to what other people say. Definitely go within yourself and spend time there and figure out what lines up for you, and figure out through your own experience with your feelings and your thoughts,
right,
of how does this all connect. So this is just in my experience, I see tricklings of this, okay. and I share this with you, and I talk about it in a way, even just like in the ghost versus the soul way. A lot of people they fear that when you pass, you might be bound to a location. You can't go into the light. You're isolated from your family on the other side, or ghosts cause terror and scare the living, and really, those things don't add up, and there's
right.
a lot of reasons why I feel personally they don't add up. So I share that message, right? But yeah, I can never say this is the full stamp of approval. This is just, in my experience.
If we have the ability to understand that there may be some cause based on our actions here on this planet, on this plane, in this dimension, that would stop us from going to the place where our loved ones are going to be going, because we have done things that we fear, that we regret, that we understand are not things that were good to people. We've hurt people. But if we know this, Kelly, and we've gone through this before, and we are coming back and doing it again, why don't we get the message that if we want to be with our loved ones, number one, we have to be kind, we have to be good. And number two, depending on which religious philosophy you believe in, that at the time of death and going to the other side, for example, heaven, you're forgiven. So you go with your loved ones. Why all the different beliefs? It's very confusing for people, I think, especially since the advent of the internet, where this plethora of information is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things are humans teaching humans.
Right.
And a lot of these teachings are for people to behave. And it can get like into the religion avenue, of course, absolutely. It can get into the philosophical region of this. It can get to the, the personal belief system. It's such a complex breakdown, because we have to understand what it means to be human, and then we have to break down what is good and evil, right? So we would have to go through a lot of layers to really go, why do I believe this? And why do I think when I end my life, things are going to go as such, this or that? I do believe in karma. Like, I do believe in the essence of karma. And I do believe, like, we are walking karma, we are walking mirrors. So if we are doing good things for others, I do think that life finds a way to just through like energy, just through physics, it bounces back your way similar. And I do believe what you think about and what you believe consumes the lens of reality in which you live your life. But are there things greater than, just our individualistic expressions and situations? A lot of mediums, they think that the concept of, let's say, hell is you're re-experiencing all the things that you did with yourself and other people, and you have to rectify that within yourself. So you're living throughout pain that you experienced, not because to torture yourself, just to understand what you bring upon the world and understand what you brought into the world. So you can choose if you want to continue to do that or not, but you have to experience the essence of what you brought upon. So it's just like reliving. It's just reliving. And so that is a karma. What you do comes back to you. And so you relive all the good stuff and you relive all the bad stuff, not just the bad stuff. So that's horrible in itself. A replay of if you made some pretty bad decisions for yourself and others, and you cause a chain reaction. I think that's a form of hell in itself. So there's that's talked about with some people. Also, that there's different state of consciousness. There's different state of consciousness that we ascend to. So if we are very boxed in our thinking and very tortured within our being, that's the consciousness that we are existing in. And as we rise and as we grow, we, shed our limitations, and we become more ascended in just our way of being. So there's many different metaphors that you can take with heaven and hell, but the actual truth of things, we would have to go a lot deeper for sure to see where we could go with that.
Part I can't understand, Kelly, is if we go through these many lives for many different reasons, why we do not remember what the reasons for the return to this dimension, this reality is, so that we can focus better on making sure that we get it right this time, that we get the hurt that we caused somebody, so that when we come back, we know not to do it again. And if this happened, I could better understand the premise, but
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's what you want. I understand. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people think that this is like a schoolhouse.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying that this is exactly what it is.
Sure.
But they think that this is a schoolhouse, and in a way, this is an echo of what we need to learn and find. And even though it feels so visceral and horrible, the bad things that happen here, really this is like a stage for us to go, why did I do this? And why when I have everything to, let's say, choose, even though I don't remember all the ways that I can choose.
Yeah.
The paradox of it all. Why, when I just try to exist, I create either pleasure or pain? Why, like, who am I through this? If you remembered that you were a supreme being with the ability to do whatever you want, you would create instant change. You would create palaces. You would create charities. You would, but that wouldn't be needed because other people would remember all their power and they'd be like, why would I suffer? Why would I enslave myself? Why would I do this and that? And so if everyone remembered, there wouldn't be this reality. So this reality is built in order for us
to fail,
not remember, so we can see what we carry out despite that, and how we cultivate strength besides our weakness, how we cultivate wisdom when we do not have that, other than what's cultivated here, step by step. So it's very interesting. The final thing I want to say on that
Kelly,
is
I don't
like
have time right now.
Oh,
Kelly,
okay.
please stand by. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming around the world on classic1220.ca.
And I didn't have a coat, and it was away down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together.
Life's like this. That's the way it is. Cause life's like this. That's the way it is. Chill out, what you yelling for? Lay back, it's all been done before. And if you could only let it be, you would see I like you the way you are. When we're driving in your car and you're talking to me one-on-one.
Exonation, our guest this hour is Kelly Brickel. Her website is kellybrickel.com. And Kelly, thanks very much for coming on the show. It's been a delight, and I love the conversation that we're having.
Thank you. Yes, they're very spiraling subjects where you could go so many different places with. It's fun.
Yeah. You wanted to tell me something just before we went to the break, and I'd like to give you the chance for you to tell me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We were talking about kind of, good and evil,
Yeah.
heaven and hell, and why do we have an earth quite like this one? And I don't have all the answers, but I definitely think that it's fascinating to talk about some things. And as I do, please know I don't ever try to minimize suffering, because it is a difficult world. It really, really is a difficult world. And, there's a lot of things here that we wish weren't here and that were different. So I really honor that because, I'm not a fan of what we're creating in total. I really am not. From a philosophical perspective of spiritually why some of these things happen and why we forget and why we allow these things to happen. And I'm going to have to paraphrase a little bit, but
Sure.
The philosopher Alan Watts, he talks about, well, if we were these infinite beings, right, that could do anything, and all of this is not real. So like Earth is not quite as it seems. If we could have anything we want, well, after like millions and millions of years or however of, having as much ice cream as we wanted, or, any confection, go on any adventure we wanted, like the highest roller coaster. This is just in human terms, right? Like
Right.
Venturing through the cosmos, experiencing everything pleasurable and fantastical you can imagine, and you have everything at your disposal. Wouldn't you want to experience the opposite of that? If you could experience everything, wouldn't you want to experience then lack? Because that would be a whole new realm and dimension in itself. Wouldn't you want to experience the opposite of what bliss was, and to understand what that brings forth within the cosmos and universe, and to understand what, then extends in that understanding? So you bring forth all these like really, really, confusing vibrations when you think about it from the human existence. We go, why would I want to experience experience this.
Sure.
But when you can experience everything, that's when all of a sudden these things come forth, I would imagine. It makes somewhat sense.
Kelly, having done the work you've done as a numerologist, as a medium, as a psychic, do you think that the new theory that we live in a matrix is possible, that everything around us is not real, that we are living in an alternative world where nothing is real, including our thoughts, our love, our heart, our desires, our soul?
I mean, a lot of it is up for discussion, let me tell you. I do believe that we are living in some form of simulation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many layers of that simulation is that way. But I don't think this is the primary reality, because literally within mediumship and in psychic understanding, you're getting information from other beings to help you navigate this reality. So there's some reality that governs over this one, or has knowledge enough over this one where it's clear, and it almost seems like this was created for a purpose. This was created for a specific purpose at times. I don't know fully if that's so. Do I think that our hearts are artificial, that our thoughts are artificial? We all could be AI for all we know. This all could be just a simulation for just a being to see how something models itself out to be. We could be in a petri dish. We could be in a matrix of a colony siphoning our energy for different resources and purposes. It's really out there, right? I don't know, but I do think that love and connection, and really connection, is really a thing within the universe. I do think that we are not just isolated. I do think that we are connected, and there is a greater purpose in that connection. So I don't think we're completely hollow.
But Kelly, if we're living in a simulation or in a matrix, how could we communicate with souls on the other side? Because basically, if we're living in a simulation or a matrix, there is no other side.
It could be, the other side of the reality. They created this reality, and so on the other side, you're not going to remember it, right? On the other side, the rules are different. On this side, with maybe how it was created, or maybe, where things are quite different. There's, all those. All I can say is there's a different set of rules on the other side.
Kelly, as a psychic, as a medium, as a numerologist, and as an energetic healer as well, what is your take on the extraterrestrial hypothesis?
Oh, I believe, we can't just be the only ones.
Why not?
Just be the only ones. And many mediums, and why I say mediums a lot, because mediums connect to different realms. They connect to different dimensions, different realities, because they're bridging that. So mediums can pick up extraterrestrials too.
Well, let me ask you this: have you ever connected with an ET on the other side?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experiences. I have maybe two.
Wow, what was that like? What was it like?
Well, they were different, and again, not my specialty, but I guess the one that I think was the most whoa, that was really cool, was I was going to, this is 2012, I was going to a workshop, and I had to drive for this workshop, and it was a workshop about guide work, becoming more aware of your guide. So again, it was a lot of meditations and a lot of just prompts to let us go deeper within our own sensitivities and with other people in practice. So I'm going to go to the workshop again, because it was a couple days long, and it's a 45-minute drive, and I worked on some of these days too when I got home, so I didn't have a lot of time to go to sleep. And I remember being very nervous because I wanted to do a good job at the workshop. I wanted to get my money's worth.
Of course.
Some of these classes were expensive, and I was just really nervous, and I was just please, someone, can you heal me and help me? I don't know. Just please, someone come to me and help me because I'm going to wake up exhausted, and please, I don't want to be that way. And I remember I all of a sudden like woke up, and I looked at my clock and it was around like 4 or 5 in the morning. Again, this was a long time ago. And at first, okay, I'm telling the story backwards, but I woke up and I was like sweating, like a heat, but I felt like really calm and really rested. And right before I woke up, what brought me awake was I had this very, very deep dream, and I could see these beings in the dream coming to me, and they were glowing blue and white, and they didn't say anything. They just kind of reached out to me, not with their hands, just like with their consciousness, right? Like, hey, hi. Yeah. And I'm like, who are you? Right. And the feeling was like, we're here to help. You asked for help. We're here to help. And they were glowing white and blue, and they didn't have a face that I could see, but they looked humanoid. They were in the shape of a human.
Right.
I'm sure they weren't, but and I woke up and I felt so restored. And I remember I went back to sleep, and then I woke up again feeling really warm, and I had to wake up at like 6 a.m., something like that. And I felt really good. I honestly felt really good. And that was not the case when I had that little sleep normally. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. But that was one of the instances. Yeah, that was one of the instances.
Kelly, we've got about 2 minutes left. What message would you like to share with the X-Zone Nation tonight?
Oh gosh, what message? I would say, in all this crazy world, be yourself. And if you don't know how to be yourself, because I'm always learning more how to be myself, get in touch with what's true to you and what makes you happy, and find your joy. And it is really simple like that, because this world's a crazy place. And if you at least have that, you're going to find other people, that shine the same way you do, and it's going to get better. We're made to share and not go at this alone. That's what I have to say.
Beautiful message. Kelly, how can people contact you for a private reading?
Sure, you can go to kellybrickel.com and email me through there. And I have many different platforms under kellybrickel.com. Just reach out.
So where does Kelly Brickel go from this point? You're a medium, you're a psychic, you're an energetic healer, you're a numerologist, and I'm sure there's many other things that you do. Do you give classes, Kelly?
Yeah, I do. I gotta buckle up again with those. Every year I kind of talk to you. I swing in different kind of places. I used to teach a lot. I teach one-on-one a lot right now, but I want to give more classes this year, so that would be coming up. Yes, I do.
Any thought of any books?
I want to do a numerology book for sure, and I want to do like a psychic and mediumship book about how to develop, definitely. But I don't know when I'm going to have time for those.
Yeah.
But they'll get done eventually.
One quick question: at what age should a child go to see a psychic medium?
Oh, okay, yeah. This is a sensitive one. Legally, you have to be 18, and if you, let's say, have a child who would like help in this capacity, the parent legally has to be in the room, or you can have their consent and they are outside of the room, but they have to be on premise.
Kelly, as always, it's great having you with us, and I look forward to the next time you join us. And just keep on being Kelly, because the world needs Kelly.
Thank you.
The
world needs Rob.
You take care of yourself, my dear friend. And X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to contact our guest this hour, Kelly Brickel, visit her website at www.kellybrickel.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial, or as some of our stations do, PSAs or whatever. But we'll be back as we continue here in the X-Zone on hour number 2 of tonight's show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming 1220.ca.
What she yelling for? Lay back, it's all been done before. And if you could only let it be, you would see.